episode of Adventures in Fly Time with Fly Fish Ohio. I'm Joe Cornwall. I'm your host. This is Season 2, Episode 13. We're going to be starting our third season just next month. This month, we have a great little fly for you. Very, very simple trout fly, an emerger. We went fishing with Paul Feldman on the Cumberland River a few weeks ago. And Paul, you'd mentioned to me you wanted to see more trout flies. Here's one that I think you're just really going to love, because guess what? This fly uses one material. It's as easy as can possibly be, which makes it easy for me because you've seen my casting and you know how most of them end up in the trees. Anyway, very simple fly. It's a CDC emerger, loop wing CDC emerger. Just a great little pattern to fish. Look at this. It's got wonderful sense of life, wonderful sense of brightness and highlights as it comes off that CDC. CDC, of course, called the canard, literally bottom of the duck. These are the oiler feathers that the duck uses to preen. You do not put floatant on this fly. We're going to use a size 14 mustad hook. Very simple fly to tie because we're only going to use the one material, and it's going to form the tail, the body, and the wing all at the same time. Can't be easier than that. Once I've got the hook placed properly in the vise, I want to go ahead and lay down a very thin foundation of my 8/0 thread all the way back to the point where the tail will tie in. Makes for a nice durable fly when you do it that way. Really locks that thread in. Now I'm going to select a CDC fiber that's long, has a flexible stem, and has well-formed barbs on both sides. I'm going to stroke those barbs back and create a very small tail, which I'll tie in. Now, that doesn't actually imitate the tail of the mayfly. We're imitating a mayfly that's crawling out of the husk of its nymphal shell. So this little bit of a tail will actually imitate that husk, hence making this an emerger. It's a very nice, impressive pattern. And when I say impressive, perhaps impressionistic would be a better selection of words. An impressionistic pattern that has a lot of the feeding triggers that a trout's going to look for to take this bug. Lock that in with 2 or 3 thread wraps, and then move my thread right up to the head. Now, holding that CDC so that all those fibers remain together, I'm going to wrap a thin body. Don't worry if a few loose threads of CDC fiber make their way out from underneath there. That's not a problem. These bugs are not neat when they hatch. This is a messy process. I get to the point right behind the hook eye. I'll go ahead and lock in that CDC with 1 or 2 thread wraps and then move my thread in front of the CDC. Now what I want to do, stroke those fibers back, make a loop. Now this time notice that loop is coming to the other side of the hook eye. When I stopped it I was on this side, now it's on that side. This is going to make almost a horseshoe over the top of the hook eye. I'm going to lock that loop of CDC in with 2 or 3 turns of the thread, hold the thread up out of the way, and clip the rest of that stem from the CDC away. Now I can actually go ahead and finish out the head of the fly. Small, neat head. What I like to do on this one is I like to use dual whip finishes, 2 whip finishes. The reason that I'm going to do that is because the CDC material itself has got a lot of motion, and I don't want to leach any head cement into the CDC and ruin that action. So by using 2 whip finishes, what I'm going to end up with is an extremely strong fly, but I don't have to use any chemicals to seal it. So we've got one. Let's throw the second whip finish on there. Tie that whip finish back, flip the thread. Now, I've got one more step to make this fly just about perfect. Pull up the wing, which you can see I have the loop of the CDC stem there, and cut those materials so that they're about even with the tail. Now this forms a nice wing that comes back to the back of the tail and gives you great proportion. Now this will float low in the water column. You want to fish this with a drag-free drift, of course, but it'll float low in the water column. It'll have a lot of inherent motion. It has tremendous translucency. It uses one material and thread. 3-minute tide, not a problem. Just vary the color. This one will work on anything. Thanks for joining us with Adventures in Fly Tying, December 2007. We'll be back next month with another great fly. Join us on the web at www.flyfishohio.com. And don't forget, we also have a brand new podcast program, Adventures in Fly Fishing. This is a 1-hour audio-only program that features the people, the politics, and the practices of the fly fishing industry and fly fishing as a sport. Come on and join us on the web. If you're already subscribing to Fly Fish Ohio, to Adventures in Fly Tying, through iTunes, you're going to get the first 3 episodes, but you do have to visit us on the web because it'll have a completely separate RSS code, so you can subscribe to both of them as you see fit, depending on where you want to watch them and when. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you on the water. Have a great one.